Hello everyone, and welcome to another one of Taylor's Guides for League of Legends. And today we'll be talking about Zed. So you probably know the situations in solo queue when you're just playing mid lane or top lane and like the game's going fine and suddenly like you're just really happy like, oh yeah, this game's gonna be good. And suddenly you just see your jungler gank bottom lane, the enemy bottom lane, and suddenly you hear like triple kill for enemy AD carry, and you're just so, oh my god, like, and it's Wayne most of the time. Like probably it's Wayne. She just got a triple kill. It's like, oh, fuck, oh man, and it's just really annoying sometimes, right? Like their AD carry is fat, and you don't know what to do. So now there's Zed, and Zed is like the perfect counter for AD carry squishies. He's an amazing assassin on AD basis. He does physical damage and a bit of magical damage too. But yeah, he's just an awesome champ for countering those squishy carries, AP carries, AD carries, and especially later on AD carries because they can't build Zonias. But I'll talk about it later on. So, just in general, Zed specializes in high burst, incredible juking potential, and amazing sustained damage. He even after his combo, he still does a lot of damage and just pumps it out in the team fights. He's very mobile, which is very important in the current meta. In this guide I will show you my build for Zed in mid lane. He can be played top lane. He's mediocre in the jungle, but it can be played. But in general, this guide will focus on mid lane. So first of all, let's get through his abilities. So your passive is Contempt for the Weak, which is an amazing passive for last hitting. Basically, you deal additional magic damage to enemy targets per auto attack that are below 50% health. It's just a percentage medical damage. And this helps with last hitting. It's a nice bonus to damage when fighting against champions and finishing them off. And especially, like I said, just now for a lot of people who have problems with last hitting, that can be a way to practice it and get into it without having great AD stats at the beginning, just because of the passive and just because you can finish off minions so easily. You will feel this like, oh, I'm not sure if I can get it last hit. With that you can, because it's just such a nice damage boost. But this effect cannot occur more than one time every 8 seconds, so you gotta remember that when fighting in team fights. Our Q is Razor Shuriken, and this will be your main damage ability for this build. It's basically a skill shot in a straight line. It's a fairly slow projectile. Well, I don't know if it should be considered slow, but yeah, it just has a certain speed and you need to get the feel for that. It's a nice farming tool. It's a nice harassing tool. The problem with this is that when you shoot it and you want to harass an enemy champion, it will most likely go through a minion first. And when it goes through a minion first, it will deal less damage to the champion. That's one effect of Razor Shuriken. So you gotta remember that. But in combination with your W, which spawns an illusion, we'll talk about it shortly, you will have 2 shurikens, and the second shuriken will most likely go through the champion directly. So I will explain why I max Q on Zed first when I'm talking about this ultimate later on. Your W is Living Shadow, which spawns an illusion of yourself at target area. You can activate the ability again to change places with your shadow. And the shadow will mimic your abilities, like your Q, your E, well, not your ultimate, but yeah, your Q and E, and not your auto attacks. That would be too cool. But yeah, it's just an amazing ability for juking enemies, and for example, when your flash is on cooldown, you can also escape ganks with your W. Just back off with it and you're fine. It has a fairly long cooldown to start, and one of the hardest aspects about Zed, in laning phase at least, is balancing out the aggressive and passive play. Because your W is a nice harassing tool, and especially against long range auto attacking mid laners, you'll want to harass with your W because it's such a big distance and you're not there. You're technically not there, just your shadow, and it will cast abilities for you. But if you use it aggressively to harass, you won't have it for escaping ganks. So you just gotta get a feel for it. Where is the jungler? Is he gonna gank me now? Do I need my W here or not? But that will come with time. And yep. You also get bonus attack damage with your W passively, which is a nice boost, and it's something Zed didn't really need, but it's just even more to his full package, and it's a nice passive ability for his W in there. Then his E is Shadow Slash. It's very similar to Akali's Crescent Slash. You basically deal damage in a circle around you and slow the enemy's hit. When you use it with your W, like your W and you activate E and you both hit the same target, you and your shadow, you won't deal additional damage, but the slow will be stronger and you will restore energy. Also, if you hit an enemy champion with your E, it will reduce the cooldown of your W if it's on cooldown. So that's really nice, and will sometimes help you escape just in 1 second from that E. Some builds max E first. I've tested it and tried it for a long time, but I just couldn't get into it since first of all his E got nerfed to cooldown a long time ago, and I just feel like because your E doesn't deal additional damage when all your shadows strike the target, your Q is better for that, for bursting down targets at level 6, because if you really burst someone with your 2 shadows and yourself, and you shoot 3 shurikens and get the enemy champion off, hit it, it will be just an incredible amount of damage. And with your E you won't have that, so I don't know. Q just works better for me, and it's a much safer ability to max. And finally, his ultimate, Death Mark. That's one of the coolest abilities in the game, in my opinion. You dash to a targeted enemy and spawn a shadow behind them. If you activate the ability again, you will jump to that shadow, and just like your W, it's a similar mechanic. And when you target the enemy, you will mark them with this Death Mark, and it will detonate after 3 seconds. During these 3 seconds, you have time to deal as much damage as possible, because when it detonates, it will deal 100% of your attack damage, and also a percentage of the physical damage and magical damage dealt by Zed and his shadows. So during those 3 seconds, you just really want to dish out as much damage as you can. Blaze the Rune King, Ignite, everything. Just try to do that. So that would be Zed's abilities. Like I said, I max Q first. His ultimate, then his Q, E, then W. Pretty standard and easy to follow. At least that's what worked best for me. You can try maxing E first and see for yourself if that works. It's a bit easier to play than when maxing Q, because Q is a skill shot and E is not. And Razor Shuriken, like hitting 2 shurikens, even 2, 3 is even harder. But hitting Q with your Living Shadow plus your Q isn't that easy as some might think. So you just gotta get used to that, and that's a part of playing Zed, just learning that. So now that we have that out of the way, let's get into runes and masteries and summoner spells. For runes, I go 9 times armor penetration marks. Then for seals, I go armor, flat armor. For glyphs, I go flat magic resistance. And for quintessences, I go attack damage. Yeah, flat ID. Basically, you can switch out the armor penetration marks for flat AD marks, although I feel like armor penetration marks work better on Zed, because usually when you take flat AD marks, you want to really go for a kill maybe in the early game, because flat AD marks are a bit better early on than armor penetration, of course, and it makes last hitting easier. But since you have a passive, last hitting is very easy anyway, and also I personally like to farm with Zed to level 6 and then burst someone down, and that's where armor penetration marks are better than flat AD marks, in my opinion. And the AD quints just help out anyway, so that's the boost in the AD that you need, to be honest, early on. At least in my opinion, that worked best for me. Also, some people like running lifesteal quints or armor penetration quints. I didn't really try armor pen quints. Lifesteal quints are fine for a bit more sustain, but since I often start with a very safe start anyway, I go with the flat AD quints. Alright, for masteries, you can see them on the screen here. Very standard assassin setup, 2190, just full offense and a bit defense in the defensive tree, and that's it. Like, very standard mastery setup that worked best for me. I didn't try anything like 30-0 or something like that. So, and also I don't think utility masteries on Zed are that great. So I just feel like offensive is the way to go with Zed. And then for last summer spells, Flash and Ignite. Very standard Flash for escaping ganks, for making plays, and Ignite for killing enemies, because that's what you want to do with Zed. You can also try taking Teleport instead of Ignite, but what happens then is that you give up a bit of your killing potential early on, and since you're playing mid lane and Zed, you can also get mobility boots on him, which makes ganking very easy, and you'll be very mobile anyway. And also I just feel like Teleport is maybe a good choice when playing top lane Zed, but I don't like it really much on mid lane Zed, to be honest, because Ignite just helps with getting to kill and snowballing, and that's what you want to do with Zed. Zed is just amazing at snowballing, but we'll talk about it later on. Alright, so we got that out of the way, and now let's talk about items. Alright, items. Itemization with Zed is fairly easy, because at least I tend to go the same road every game, and this one just works for me. So there are 3 starting possibilities in my opinion that are very viable. First of all is Fort Pot plus 3 health potions, very offensive start, very hard to pull off, to be honest, at least with the new set after the nerfs and after the nerfs to Fort Pot. But what you want to do with this is just go for the first blood, just go all in early on and try to get the kill with Ignite and your abilities, because Zed's damage early on even is very high and just incredible. Then there's Boots plus 4 health potions. I didn't really try that, but it might be a good idea against Orianna maybe, or some other casters that you want to dodge skill shots against, like Brand or something. Which is just, I don't know, it's a bit of a weird start, and it's okay, I guess. It's okay. I didn't try, to be honest. And then the safest start, for me at least, and which I tend to go every game, is Thorn Shield plus 1 health potions. 1 health potion, sorry. What this allows you to do is, it allows you to, regenerate some of the auto-attack harass that some of the long-range mages in mid lane tend to be able to do against Zed, since you're melee and mid lane. So any RE or anything that has a long-range poke and an auto-attack poke. Because it's really annoying when you get to laning phase and just level 1 and you try to farm minions and just this RE just keeps on at auto-attacking you and slowly wears you down. So Thorn Shield allows you to counter that and just to farm safely. Also regeneration and just farming. And that's what I tend to do, because Zed's base damage is really high, to be honest. And at level 6 you will most likely be able to burst someone down when they are at half health, or won't have too much armor maybe. Maybe they didn't start claw 5 at mid lane, so that's when you can really go in and just finish them off without having to go Fort Pot or Longsword plus 2 health potions. So Doran's Shield plus 1 health potion is my start, and I tend to do that because it's just safe and easy to pull off. Alright, that's the start. The next item I rush is Brutalizer. Amazing stats for Zed, very good item for AD casters in general, and more so on Zed. Not much to add to that, it's just an amazing item on him. After I have my Brutalizer and Boots, I like to rush Blade of the Ruined King. Blade of the Ruined King is very nice because it just fits Zed. The passive with the percentage damage is like his passive, then which is good against tanks. Then the active. The active is really good because once you use Death Mark on someone, you can use the active of Blade of Ruin King on him, and this will add up to the percentage damage from the detonation. So it just fits that. It's just a great item on him. The lifesteal, attack damage, attack speed, just every stat fits him. It's not too expensive to farm up. You can farm it up very fast during laning phase, and just a good item is that. It's just amazing. And remember to use the active after you use your Death Mark. Also, you might be able to escape some ganks with the active and the heal from Blade. The next item I get, well, at this point I usually ask myself, did laning phase go right? Did I snowball? Did I get a lot of kills? If laning phase went well and everything's good and the enemy team doesn't have too much armor, I usually go for a Bloodthirster. It's just flat AD, a nice boost to damage. If I need some more armor penetration and feel like I have enough damage to burst down the squishy anyway and just struggle with their tanks in fights at the end, I normally rush a Last Whisper and then Bloodthirster. Like, you can switch up the position of these two. If their AP caster is getting stronger and had a really good laning phase against you, and maybe got some good roaming ganks off on bottom lane or top lane or even your jungler, you can also get Hexdrinker and build that into a Maw of Malmortius. But yeah, Hexdrinker is a good item set, that's sure, but I don't always build it. Like, I usually go a more offensive route for really bursting down carries. Or even a bit later on, if I notice, okay, magic threats aren't enough with the magic resistance and CC reduction, and I just want more defense against magic resistance, I usually go for the Hexdrinker anyway later on, after I have Last Whisper and Bloodthirster. Some defensive items that are good on Zed are Guardian Angel for sure. Guardian Angel is really nice if you get focused down as an assassin, and if they have a really good peel team, like you try to get to their Wayne or AE carry and you just can't, you just get focused and exhaust and everything. GA is up and you go on once you've revived. Also, another really good item set that I like to go for is Randuin's Omen. The reason for that is that it gives you just tankiness in general. It's such a good item in League on every champ, and it counters ADs. So if their AD is really fat anyway, and you seem to struggle with bursting them, like for example they've got a lot of kills, and they are ahead of you. Sometimes bottom lane can be higher level than your mid lane. Like, maybe you didn't farm so well, maybe something went wrong, maybe they ganked you. Randuin's is a good defensive item which can pull you back, because once you jump onto their Vayne, or I'm just taking Vayne as an example because she's such a popular AD carry in solo queue right now. You can jump on their Vayne with your ultimate and then activate Randuin's Omen and shut her down, at least for a few seconds, because her attack speed will be slowed and her damage output will be much lower. So I really like Randuin's Omen on Zed, at least as some of the last items, as 5th or 6th item. And that's basically my build for Zed. Of course, I build out the Brutalizer to, what's it called? The Black Cleaver. And with Black Cleaver, you can get tanks even faster. It's such a great item, especially with Last Whisper. Like, you might think that you will struggle against tanks with that, just because you don't have your ultimate in use to learn squishies. With Black Cleaver plus Last Whisper, no problem, and especially also the armor pen marks. And that's enough armor penetration to go through tanks too. I have a clip in the videos here where I just jump on Malphite and just 1v1 him, so and he was really tanky. But yeah, that's Zed in a nutshell. I just burst things. It's really fun to play. So that's the item build. And now let's get into the gameplay tips and tricks portion of the video, which will probably be most important for some people. Okay, just to not make this too long, I will try to keep this last part of the video very short. Zed is Very simple when it comes to his late game, well, mission, which is just burst down their carries. So if their AD carries fed or for example their AP carries will probably rush Sonias, which counters your ultimate, you want to burst their AD carry. And that's just what you want to do. Burst their squishies, burst their carries. Your W is a nice gap closer and you won't have to flash to them to get to them. Your ultimate is a gap closer which can't be stopped. So you will have no problem getting to them. One thing that, for example, counters Zed is CC after you've used your ultimate, because you won't be able to do damage, and Death Mark won't do that much damage. It will do a little bit, but you won't get to use the full potential of it. Also, just take Wraiths. It's very easy with Zed. Just jump over with your W, E twice, use your Q, done, and you go back to lane. If you if you are ahead during laning phase, you can also roam a lot. You're very mobile. If you got some kills and you dominate mid lane, just go for those mobility boots instead of merc threats. Just roam around and get kills around the map. Help out your jungler, help out your top lane, bottom lane, whatever you want. Ganks with Zed are very easy. You can W in, it's a nice gap closer, and you can also gap close with your ultimate, like I said before. Also, like with any assassin, don't try to not fall behind. Try to not get ganked. Try to farm up as much as possible. Try to get kills whenever possible. Because if you fall behind with Zed, you won't be able to burst down their squishies, their carries, and you won't be able to fulfill your role. And that's where Zed then falls apart, if you just falls behind, if you are lower level than their other lanes. You always want to at least be at the highest level in the whole game on the map, or at least even level. So really try to aim for those 100 CS in 10 minutes. 20 minutes, 200 CS. I know it's hard, but just try to go for that. With Zed, it's much easier since it's very easy to last it. Alright, last portion, matchups. So Zed can be countered by a lot of champs, abilities and items, unfortunately. So just to name a few, Kayle. Then there's also Sonias. Elise is a counter. Fizz is a counter. Anything that can dodge the damage from an ultimate can be considered a counter. That doesn't mean that you won't be able to play against them. It will be just a lot harder, and you will need some experience with that. I've played the last week 5 times against Kayle, but not a lot of people main her, so it's not like whenever you pick Zed, they will pick Kayle. Because like with every champion, you need experience to counter another champion. So if you're a good Zed player and they are just a mediocre Kayle player, you will outplay them. I can guarantee you that. Also another very annoying champion to play against is Lissandra, because of her ultimate, just another Sonias. So Sonias, barrier, shields. Orianna, anything that is shields is very good against Zed. And how to play against that? You either wait for that to wear off, you just farm up and don't try to trade too much, or the best way, and this is what I prefer. Generally in mid lane with Zed, I don't help my jungler pull blue off, because if I do that, I will most likely miss 1 or 2 CS. And you might think that's not a lot. It is a lot, because the enemy mid lane will hit level 2 first, and you don't want that to happen on Zed. You want to get level 6, especially when you're playing against Kayle or Lissandra. You want to get level 6 before they get 6, because you will have your ultimate and you will have the chance to burst them down before they can avoid your ultimate damage. I said that Fizz is a counter to Zed in the sense that he can dodge with his E to damage, but Zed can also counter Fizz, because when he shoots his fish, his ultimate, you can just ultimate Zed, you can just use your ultimate on Fizz and you will dodge the fish. So, these are just some hard matchups. Like barrier is really annoying when playing against someone mid lane. And just gotta remember that with that. It will all come with experience, and just like with any champion. Of course there are counter picks, but if you get really good with a champion, in my opinion, you will be able to play against those matchups that you normally would lose. Like just look at Faker. He wins a lot of matchups that, like, he's a really good player, of course. But if you master one champion, he has a wide champion pool, but you can just concentrate on one champion, get very good with him, and then you won't care if they pick Kale or something else into you. So, whatever. Like, just practice with that, and you'll get good with him. Alright. I think I've covered everything for this, guys. It's a really long video, so I'm sorry for that. I just wanted to make this as detailed as possible. I've played him, like I said, on Diamond Elo and also lower Elo, and this build worked for me at least. For top lane, if you really want to play him on top lane, I wouldn't pick him into very tanky champs, but because they will just sustain your ultimate. They will just be like, for example, Renekton. He will just use his ultimate, and your ultimate will be countered anyway. So, in general, for mid lane, play safe, farm up, get a lot of kills, and carry the game with that. I will also upload a full game commentary so that you can see how I play him in the game, and you will be able. And I will explain my thought process and how I get to get so many kills, and how I try. What my thought process is behind the game. In general, I hope you enjoyed this video and that it helped you with playing Zed. He's an amazing champion. He's an awesome champion. He's so much fun to play. And if you're looking for a main assassin on an AD basis, I think Zed is the way to go at the moment, since Talon is mediocre, let's be honest. So, thanks for watching, and I hope you'll join in next time when I do another guide. See ya.